Okay, so we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to drive both the Suburbans. So this is a 2000 2500 Suburban. Has a 6-liter. It has 373s. The only modification here are these 22-inch Hummer EV wheels with 275/50 22s on it. But we're going to see how this compares to the Squarebody Suburban. So, you know, obviously styling is a good bit different on this, but immediately when stepping in, you have a modern door handle, which is a big change. You've got power locks, heated seats. This is my wife, so please ignore the ignore that. I promise it's not mine. But yeah, climbing aboard here, you immediately have a somewhat modern interior. Interestingly enough, this has rear air conditioning, dual zone climate. I mean, all the Suburbans did of this era, but it has vents here, not just all the way in the back. You'll see what I mean when I compare it to the Squarebody, but electric transfer case, automatic lights, CD player, cup holders, some nice comfy armrests. Really love these seats. Full instrument panel. All right, so we got it started up here. I mean, digital, yeah, this thing's got a lot of features, but I'm gonna talk about the driving experience and see how it compares from 1987 to 2000. So obviously this is an automatic. Couldn't get a manual in this generation. The Squarebody's a factory manual. Factory 4-speed manual, so no manuals in this generation. So yeah, there's a 4L80, which is a great automatic transmission. I'm not an automatic guy, but this automatic is awesome in this. So setting off, the turning radius is awesome in these. Definitely a tighter turning radius than the Squarebody. First thing you notice immediately. Yeah, this turning radius is... I had a Camry at the same time I had this. My wife had a V6 Camry when I brought this home, and she fell in love with it, and I never got a chance to drive it again. But this had a better turning radius than the Camry, and I'm not even kidding. So yeah, 4L80, smooth shifts, no drama. It rides really well. This generation of truck, the GMT800 is about when they started to ride and drive pretty modern. Very little interior noise. See, as a car goes by, you don't even hear it. You know, no wind noise. Just overall a great driving experience. But definitely a modern driving experience. And what I mean by that is this has an independent front suspension. This has comfortable seats. This has almost all the creature comforts, cruise control, like I said, memory seats, heated seats, power locks, power windows. Yeah, it even has a really good sound system. So the GMT800 was definitely ahead of its time, and if you could find a 2500 like this, I highly recommend it. There's nothing wrong with the 1500s. 5.3 is a great engine, and the 4L80 is my preferred transmission, but the 4L60 is usually fine as long as you don't beat on it too bad. I just prefer the gearing of this and how it shifts. It shifts a lot firmer. But the real reason you want a 2500 is the suspension. So it has leaf springs out back instead of coils, and it really doesn't ride any worse. Kind of interesting how, I mean, technically they say that the 1500s ride better, but I've owned both at the same time, and I think the 2500 actually rides better. Like, you see, over a big bump like that, it maybe initial impact's a little harsher, but it recovers a lot better. I've never liked coils, to be honest with you. I just don't like coils. I prefer leaf springs. So, but it's not just the leaf springs in the rear. You get a much bigger rear end. So you either get a semi-float 9.5 inch or a 10.5 inch full float rear. And you get Hydro Boost brakes. You get a much better brake system and a torsion bar front end. The front end is just a lot more direct and strong. So motor-wise, this has a 6-liter instead of the 5.3. Or there was an 8.1 available. The 6-liter really has all the power you need. Honestly, the 8.1 makes more torque. It's an 8.1. It's a big block. It makes more torque off idle. But for the types of weight that you're going to be towing with a Suburban, I'm not so sure that you need an 8.1. The reason I don't like the 8.1 is because it consumes a lot of oil. I've had issues with the ones I've had, just consuming copious amounts of oil. Parts are getting harder to come by. And in all honesty, with a little tune, the 6-liter makes more horsepower. The 8.1 does tow larger loads better. It makes more torque earlier. I mean, it's a big block, but for the type of weight that, where the 8.1 really shines, for that type of weight, I'd want a longer wheelbase anyway, and I'd be looking a different direction to begin with. So that's just kind of my take on the 8.1 versus the 6-liter. The 6-liter is definitely more reliable, easier to make power, and I just trust it more. I mean, the 8.1 is fun. Like I said, it makes a lot of torque, but it really runs out of steam up top. And with this 4L80, it is only a 4-speed, so it's basically a 3-speed with overdrive. First gear is extremely long. The gear spacing is pretty tight after that, and then it has overdrive. But since the gearing is so long with the 8.1, you're always kind of in between gears. And what I mean is, first goes to about 50, second goes to about 85, 90, revving to 5,500 at the 6-liter. With the 8.1, it shifts at around 4,500 RPM, and it's done making power at around 3,500 RPM. So the torque falls off, where this makes peak torque at 4,000 RPM. Now, I know what I'm saying sounds a little counterintuitive, that an engine with a higher torque peak does better with this transmission, but it really does, because when this shifts, it lands right at around, it revs up to around 5,500. It shifts and lands right 3,800, right at the torque peak. The 8.1, when it shifts at red line, it's already past the torque peak. So it just feels out of breath on the highway. And yeah, this engine revs higher, but I think it performs better. Like I said, towing smaller, towing anything less than 6,000 or 7,000 pounds, I think the 6.0 is the way to go. If you're towing more than that, get an 8.1. And like I said, if you can find an 8.1 that isn't burning oil, I have no problem with it. Fuel economy is actually the same between the 8.1 and the 6-liter. This gets around 12 around town and 15 on the highway. But yeah, just parking this. The turning radius is great. Steering is easy. Like I said, my wife drives this. So yeah, this is a vehicle that your wife can drive and have no complaints about. The GMT800 really is quiet, comfortable, smooth. It's all those things. Does it set my heart on fire? Not exactly. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it per se, but it's definitely not the most exciting vehicle ever made. So another obvious difference is this has a tailgate, a lift gate actually. Oh yeah, and keyless entry. So yeah, this one has running boards. I mean, honestly, this has more in common with like an Escalade of the era than anything. This is about as loaded as they come. It has everything except a sunroof and rear captains. It has every other option. So yeah, let's get back in and drive it home. And then we'll get in the Squarebody and see what that's like. So as you guys probably know, I rent and drive a ton of cars. I'm in a new car at least once a week, sometimes 2 or 3 in a week. I mean it when I say GMT800 is the most comfortable truck ever made. The seats are incredibly comfortable. The ride is great. The steering is awesome. It's quiet. It's reliable. They're still relatively cheap. Although the secret's out. I mean, values on these, I'll just put it to you this way. Values have not gone down on these in the last 5 years. You know, you get a clean, rust-free example like this, you're going to pay for it. I bought this thing with 170,000 miles on it. It's got 207 now, just about. Yeah. You know what I've done to it? It has 2 fuel pumps, and one of the fuel lines went off, and I changed an upper control arm. And that is it. I've done nothing else to this except drive it. That's pretty impressive. To buy a car with 170,000 miles and have no issues. Oh, you know what? I'm lying. I did do a tune-up too. It was having a random misfire. I did coils. I did ignition coils and spark plugs just because. Just, you know, normal maintenance. It was a very random misfire, but it scared the hell out of my wife. And yeah. But yeah, just driving around, you know, you don't know that you're in a 2500 driving one of these. There's really none of the compromises. It doesn't ride rough. I mean, my wife, the biggest car she ever had was a Toyota Camry. She had an Acura CL and then a Toyota Camry. Those are the only 2 cars she ever had. She got in and was able to drive this, no problem. Able to park it, no problem. That, you know, it's easy to, if you're looking for something that fits the whole family, this is the way to go. And in all honesty, this interior is a lot nicer than the GMT900s and even the modern stuff that came after that. I just took a GMC truck on a very long road trip, and yeah, it didn't impress me. So I do need to change the fan clutch, so you might hear a little noise coming from that. But yeah, just routine maintenance is my point. And obviously the brake lights are on. It's the computer needs to be rebuilt for the ABS. I don't really care. I don't really like ABS. And in all honesty, it's hit and miss. Like, it came on now. I've driven this thing to California and back, and it didn't come on. So it's got a bad ground somewhere. I've tried to track it down. I don't know. You know, electrical issues are definitely, you know, you're going to have some of those. Like, I had an issue with this blend door. I fixed it. It just needed to be reprogrammed, but it got stuck on heat. And yeah, I had issues with the seat where the heated seats weren't working, and then the power seats weren't working. So, you know, tracking down little electrical gremlins is obviously something you're going to have to do with any old car. But yeah, no real fatal flaws though. I mean, a solid transmission, solid suspension, brakes, engines. I mean, everything about these is pretty solid. And you can see here, it's definitely relaxed cruising down the freeway with overdrive. And this has 373s, like I mentioned. So, yeah. Overall, driving the GMT800 is a pretty uneventful experience, and that's what I love about it. Is it's so, you just turn the key and go. Like I said, the issues that this thing had, nothing ever left them on the side of the road. It had a random misfire that came and went. The fuel pump issue, I noticed that it wasn't registering right, and because it has 2 tanks. This is a 39 gallons total. And I noticed that if it got below half a tank, it would just drop to empty. So one of the ascending units was bad. So fixed that. But yeah, like I said, nothing that, it was actually still pumping fuel into the other tank, and you just lost the gauge after half a tank. So like I said, nothing that would leave it on the side of the road. And I bought this thing 3 years ago. I paid $3,000 for it. For $3,000 to get 3 years out of a car and do a couple little minor things, and it's showing no signs of stopping. Like I said, transmission shift's good. Shifts are, you know, firm and no issues. You don't even notice the shifts. It shifts so smooth. I mean, they're firm. Like, okay, you know it shifted because you can hear it, but there is no like jolting or shuddering or, yeah. And you get up to highway speeds and it's just a quiet, smooth, comfortable experience. This is actually my favorite vehicle to take on road trips. The X3 is fun, and definitely it gets, you know, double the fuel economy that this does, but I'm telling you, these seats and the long wheelbase, this thing just rides incredible. It drives really well. I really like these trucks. This is my favorite generation of GM truck, truth be told. And you wouldn't know that because I've only had one this whole time, and I'm on my second Squarebody. I had a Ford truck in between there. I'm just thinking, since I started recording YouTube videos, you know, you wouldn't think this is my favorite because I've only owned one, but that's why it's my favorite. If I haven't had to go buy another one, there's really nothing, you know, this thing just works. And yeah, old school vehicles. It's kind of funny calling this old school now, but it is. Let's just call it what it is. This is a 26-year-old car. I can't believe that, but you know, the low windowsill, it's just comfortable. The visibility is great. And when something does break, like it's misfiring, I can just go in and change the coils. No big deal. You know, I recognize everything. So, you know, it's easy to work on. It's reliable. It's a great driving experience. How does it compare to the Squarebody? Well, we're about to find out. I'm going to take that vehicle out here in a few minutes and kind of show you what progress has done over the years. But this still feels relatively modern. I guess that's what I could say about this is it still feels like a pretty modern experience. You get in with the keyless entry, you know, you heat your ass and you're comfortable and you have everything you need. You got power outlets everywhere. You got cup holders everywhere. Like I said, still a relatively modern experience, but it enjoys not being modern to the point that, you know, it has electrical issues, variable valve timing issues, all the other stuff that nobody likes about modern vehicles, myself included. So, yeah, that is the GMT800. I'm going to get it parked here, which, again, I'm telling you, is easy. Turning radius is great on these. You can place it anywhere. This is my favorite, and don't mind the tires just rubbing the fender liner. That's needs a new zip tie. This is my favorite generation of GM product. It really does everything well. I love it. I have no complaints about the GMT800. But, yep. Give you guys just one more little walk around here. And then we're going to take that out. Okay, time for something a little bit different. I mean, the styling's definitely different. Key's different. This vehicle actually has 3 different keys. No keyless entry here. The back door is its own key. The side doors are their own key. And the ignition's a different key. Old school push button doors, reveal, a very basic interior. Wing windows, not going to see that on a newer vehicle. It's actually the Fords had them, I think, a little later. It was one of the last vehicles with wing windows. Manual windows, manual locks, bench seat. This one does have full instrumentation, but that's aftermarket because this one has a 5.3 in it. Has an LS in it. Just immediately when you close the door, a lot more utilitarian. So this one actually does have air conditioning, and it has rear air conditioning. And that's about it for features. Air conditioning. No cruise control. Obviously no heated seats. Yeah. Oh, and it has a 4-speed manual transmission. These cup holders are aftermarket. That is an ashtray. These are some, 3D printed cup holders on here, but manual transfer case. Let's start her up. So sticking the key in the ignition, got the fuel pump tire here. So this one is cammed, but it's fuel injected. But yeah, this is the factory 4-speed SM465 4-speed manual transmission. No manual transmissions in the GMT800. No tachometer here. Yeah, we got oil pressure, temp. We also have a wideband down here to monitor everything because this is engine swapped. And that is an aftermarket radio there. But yeah, HVAC controls right there. Good luck if you're a passenger changing the HVAC. This is very driver focused. Emergency brake is in the same spot. But wow, I mean, just hearing that emergency brake should tell you everything. This is a much more mechanical experience. No power mirrors, yeah. All right, so if you haven't driven one of these SM465s, in the later years, they actually started labeling it as low instead of pretending it was first gear. But yeah, so it's a 4-speed transmission, but first is extremely low, and it's not synchronized. So here, just pushing the clutch in and trying to go into first. Notice that little hesitation, and then it goes in. I'll show you why I don't really use first gear here. It's not giving it any gas, just letting off the clutch, and we're already at like 3,000 RPM. It goes to 25 miles an hour at 6,000 RPM. Steering is immediately heavy. You can hear that fan clutch going, but yeah, let's get into second there. Or as GM even refers to it as first. So I'm just gonna start in first. Nobody needs to. Yeah, so you're good starting in first, but yeah, heavy steering, lots of noise coming from the engine. There's really no sound deadening. Actually, this one doesn't even have a headliner. You can hear some wind noise. You can hear things squeaking, rattling around. This is an old truck, and steering wise, yeah, I'm already making a ton of steering corrections, just keeping it going down the road. The solid front axle that these have, not ideal for steering feel or precision, or recirculating ball and solid front axle. Yeah. But yeah, this engine's got a ton of power. I mean, I'm in top gear, I'm in third, and we're climbing up a hill, and again, we're at pretty high elevation here, so engine definitely makes good power. But all right, let's downshift there. Well, we're stuck at a light. Truck cut us off. Yeah, ride's actually not too bad. This thing rides surprisingly smooth, all things considered. But brakes, I mean, the whole body leans. Like I said, you hear squeaking and rattling. This is not a vehicle that your wife is probably going to want to drive. Just steering it around a parking lot, I'm going to look it up, but the turning circle has to be 8 to 10 feet larger on this than a GMT800. Believe it or not, the windowsills are actually higher in this than the GMT800. Maybe just the seat's worn in and it sits a little lower. I don't know, but yeah, we got crank windows, and yeah, a manual transmission, no power, assistance on anything. And a lot of these were carbureted. This is an 87, so it was factory fuel injected, but these things were carbureted up until 87 actually. So yeah. obviously I'm not revving it out very high. This has 342s and the same size tire, 265, 75, 16, so like a 31 and a half. But yeah, this has 342s, and fourth gear in this, or third according to here, is a 1-to-1 gear, so there is no overdrive. I had an OBD scan gauge hooked up to this, and right now at 65, it's revving at around 2,300, 2,400 RPM. At 80, it's right at 3,000. A little under 3,000 at 80, so around 2,900 at 80. So yeah, I mean, with the LS and with the cam in here, this is a Summit Racing. I'll put a link in the description below, but this is a pretty hopped up, factory LS. And what do I mean by that is it's an LS that was rebuilt with better heads, so it either has 799s or 243 heads, different rockers, and a different cam. But other than that, it's a stock LS, so it's basically just a cam swapped LS 5.3 with the best heads you could run without some modification. But yeah, shifting, it's not that bad since it is only a 3-speed. I mean, but this transmission is definitely not something that you're going to want to even attempt to shift in a hurry. The shift throws are long. It's a heavy-duty transmission. It can handle the torque, just that's about as fast as you're going to shift it, which is fine with me. I mean, if I wanted to go racing, I have other vehicles to do that. Hey, it shifts fine. Actually, I really like the shifting feel of it. It's very mechanical, and it falls right into gear when you get it right. And it's correct. I mean, this is what this truck had from the factory. When I tell you this truck had no options, I mean it though. This thing has rubber floors, bench seats. The steering column is fixed. Doesn't even have a tilt steering wheel. So this is about as basic as you could have got a 3/4 ton Suburban. And it had a 350. It did not have the diesel in it, or big block. You could have got a big block with two-wheel drive. There was no 4-wheel drive big blocks, despite what you might hear people claim. But yeah, just cruising down the road. I mean, you could drive this every day. It definitely has a lot more wind noise. And yeah, like I said, the steering, it literally is like driving a boat. You're always going to be doing steering corrections. But you can get away with driving this every day. Like I said, this one has air conditioning. Here, actually, it's the first day that I haven't needed to run the air conditioning, but yeah. This thing has AC. I'm comfortable now, But yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy though, because yes, I'm making a good bit of steering corrections just driving down the road, and the turning radius is not great, and you can hear a bit of the squeaks and rattles and wind noise and everything else noise associated with this. But I'll tell you right now, this thing drives better than a new Jeep Wrangler. Like, this has more precise steering and ride than a Wrangler. Now, ride's not fair because this has a 130-inch wheelbase. But I mean, it has got leaf springs, and this platform came out in the 70s, so what is the excuse as to why Jeeps can't steer in 2025? So, I mean, I guess if you're wondering if you could drive one of these every day, go drive, if you can't find one to go drive, because they're not that common anymore, especially not in running, driving, working air conditioning, daily driver ready status. There's not exactly a ton of square bodies out there ready to be daily driven. And if there are, the price is just as much as a new truck. So go drive a Jeep Wrangler, and if you're okay with that steering and that suspension, you'll love one of these. That's what I can say about this. Now, if you drive the GMT800 first and then go drive this, especially if you got, you know, your family or, you know, someone who's not willing to put up with some of the drawbacks to have this old school experience, they won't want to get back in the square body afterwards. It definitely rides a lot rougher than the newer stuff. Interior, while this bench seat is comfortable and I like it, it's nowhere near as comfortable as a new one. There's nowhere to put anything. There's really no door panel. Locking it with 3 different keys, the ignition, you know, just everything about something like this, especially since most of them are carbureted, is going to be a hard sell to anyone who doesn't really know what this is all about already. It's going to be hard to convince them, you know? Guys who like this stuff, like me, I love it. Now, I will show off a bit of the cammed engine here. So we're at about 3,500 RPM now, and this thing moves, okay? This thing moves. That is in a 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive at least 5,000 feet elevation. So, yeah. Do I love it? Yes. Do I find it fun to drive? Absolutely. Am I willing to put up with the wind noise? Yes. But how does it compare to a GMT800? This thing feels like, you know, it does feel like a vehicle engineered in the 70s compared to one that debuted in 1999. Or 2000 in the Suburban's case, the 99 for the trucks, 2000 in the Suburban. You can tell that that's of this, you know, millennium, and this isn't. Not that it's a bad thing. Not that this is unusable today. It is usable. Like I said, has a ton of cargo room, tows well. And yeah, I mean, even at highway speeds like this, it's not that loud. It's not obnoxious. It's not... You can drive one of these every day. Are you willing to deal with this steering, though? And are you willing to deal with the ride and the rust issues? A GMT800 is a better daily driver. There's just no other way around it. Even with this having essentially the same engine. This has a 5.3, that is a 6-liter. The engine's a small piece of, you know, a small piece of the puzzle. So, yeah, can you drive one of these every day? Yes. All right, let's get on the freeway. Shifted it into third. Let's see what she does here. Revved it out to around 4,000 RPM there, and now we're in the top gear, 4th or 3rd, depending on, you know, what you think, and we got plenty of power for passing. So yeah, you could drive one of these every day. Clearly it does good enough. Just good enough. And you're gonna have a big smile on your face. I mean, it's just fun driving around something this old, especially when it moves like this. Nobody expects a big blue 3/4 ton Suburban to come on the cam, you know? It just takes a lot of people by surprise. let's do a 40 roll. SMT 465, cam 5.3. Pretty fun. Yeah, you thought you were gonna pass me, yeah? You know, nobody expects a Squarebody to move like this. So yeah, just driving home with the window down, cruising. I love driving this thing, but if I could only buy one, it'd be the GMT800. It quite literally does everything better. And as much as I like shifting this old 4-speed, the 4L80's better. Honestly, if we race, despite this having a hot cam, I think the other one might win. It's not very fast because you can't shift it very fast, and yeah, you buy one of these for the nostalgia. It's still usable every day. I still like it, but I'd be lying if I told you I didn't like my GMT800 better. And that's a comparison. I don't know what else to say. Thanks again for watching, guys. I'm gonna be on vacation this week, so not going to be driving anything cool. Going to see some family, and they're picking us up, so probably won't be driving for a week. So just wanted to take a video before I left. So hope you enjoy a little day in the life of driving my Suburbans, and whatever you're doing, get out there and go drive. Till next time.